G'day ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Dougville here, going to bring you a PvP this time. It's going to be between two players who face up quite a lot on the ladder, and it should be quite a lot of fun watching them play another match here. Up at the top right hand side is our Red Protoss player, playing for Team EG. It is iNcontrol. And his opponent down at the bottom left hand side, apologizing for Greg and making it sound like he died. Apparently it is Dhal. Now, of course, I don't know if you've been on Mars or something like that, and you don't know what all this chat is about. Of course, Hydra being released from Evil Geniuses, so he's no longer a part of the team, and obviously won't really be seen too much in competitive SC2. He has claimed that he's not going to be playing at all anymore, but we'll see. You know, he might make some sort of, perhaps like a show match appearance or something like that. I think he streamed. No, that was actually just before the events occurred. But anyway, I'm sure it was obviously a bit of a loss for iNcontrol. One of his best friends. He's known Hydra for a very long time, since the old Brood War days back on Meteor, and with Artosis and G5 and all the guys back in those days when they used to compete together. So, you know, it's a pretty big loss. Of course, it's a loss for the scene, but we'll see how it comes. I am going to, I was thinking about making a little bit of a blog post about it, just because, you know, there's a few things to go over, but still. Anyway, we'll see what happens. But let's talk about this game here. We are on Neo Planet S, a very offensive map. We'll talk about it in just a second, because iNcontrol's about to scout through. He's going to see what his opponent's up to. Can see the gate, can see the one of the gas. Is he going to see the second? Yes, he is. So it is going to be 2 gas before Cyber. In fact, for both of the players, they're going to be going down that direction. This is a very common way to play PvP these days. It is a little bit of a distinction as to whether you put in 2 workers in the gas, or whether you just put 3. It is, you know, it's something. It sort of depends on how you like to play it. It looks like both these guys are going to go for the double gas, but iNcontrol is going to have 1 less worker inside his, and now he's actually going to be harassing a little bit there. That's something which you don't get to see too often, is a worker just sort of sitting in this position here. You can put them on attack move, and then they just constantly sit there attacking the workers that are inside the gas. So it's really really annoying to try and deal with that, because you pull a worker off the gas to try and take out this guy who's just standing there doing a lot of damage, or you pull off one of the other ones from the minerals, and it's quite a bit of a distance to go to. So iNcontrol is going to be getting quite a lot of damage done here. I'm a little bit surprised that Dhal has let this go on so long, and one of the workers is very low on health, actually gets him out of there as quickly as possible, dancing him around, trying to keep him away from that offensive probe there. But back at home for iNcontrol, we've got a Twilight Council on the way. We can see that with all that gas that's coming in, he may be going towards perhaps a DT tech. I'd be a bit. It could still be DTs, just based on the fact, that there are now 3 in each of the assimilators. But before he only had 2. I'm a little bit surprised about that. But Dhal himself is going to be picking up a Stargate, so we will have slightly differing plays here. We'll see if Dhal is on the ball, if he gets an Oracle out first, which does come out from time to time. It's a unit that doesn't always get a massive amount of damage done in this matchup, but it certainly can if you catch your opponent off guard. Dark Shrine does go down for iNcontrol, so it will be a DT play here. Now we're talking about the map, how offensive it is. It's a map, I kind of like to equate it to Heartbreak Ridge, if anyone remembers that very old school map from Brood War, where you've got two attack pathways to come through differing sides of the map. We can see the second one goes up this way, and it sort of, with the fact that the expos are on the sides and that kind of thing, it sort of leads to lots of pressure. You can see units sort of dancing around and battling with each other through the different positions there. But as we can see, looks like iNcontrol is going to be caught out here. His Stalker did get inside, somehow got inside the main base and scouted out that Stargate, but Dhal will take down the Stalker, and it looks like a probe from iNcontrol is going to push its way across. Pylons going down across the map just to try and get some sort of position where the DT can warp in, but there will be a Phoenix now just scouting across from Dhal. He's going to get over there and see what he can do. Let's just see if he what he does when he scouts it out. Immediately sees that the Dark Shrine is there, but he already has an Oracle building back at home, so he will be fine as long as he's on the ball with his usage of the Envision, and he should should be able to detect those DTs. Here they come, the first two DTs and a Zealot there come through. The Oracle activates the Envision. The DTs just try and get out of there as quickly as they can, but luckily the Oracle very quick in the air as well. And he will be able to chase him down, but perhaps, yep, loses one of the DTs, but the Oracle is probably not going to go too much further than that. As we can see, another DT making its way back inside. There is a second Oracle just about to pop out. There it is, so Dhal has to be very, very careful right now. Starts losing some of these workers inside the main. iNcontrol, not a huge amount of damage with any of these DTs. 5 kills in total, not too bad, but I mean, it's not exactly the best sort of opening that you would look for with DTs. A lot of people seem to think that with DTs you need to kill every single worker, otherwise the game is over. Not necessarily. You can do these kinds of plays where you just sort of keep your opponent back for a little while, force them to use some of that energy on those oracles, and then expand behind it while you get set up for that mid game. So they are. It is definitely not to say that DTs is something where you can get away with doing absolutely nothing at all. But it's something where if you can do a little bit and keep them alive, that's obviously the most beneficial sort of situation. If you can do a little bit of damage and then they die or something like that, then that's sort of an average kind of day. So iNcontrol is having an average day so far. He is down at 37 supply, so he's a little bit further behind where he would like to be against Dhal. And now we see another DT getting inside. This may be able to even up the score here. We can see 8 workers killed in total at the moment. We've got iNcontrol sitting on 27 workers to the 28 of Dhal, so he's done alright there. He's evened it up in a little sort of way here, but Dhal is now going to be going up to 3 Phoenix, so he's going to have a little bit of harassment potential himself. So we'll see if he floats across, or you can dive down the back here, just sort of come through and then jump on the mineral line there, grab a couple of workers and then get out as quickly as you can. Alternatively, you can come across to the natural base as well. No real protection here on the back of that mineral line during the start of any sort of PvP game, but looks like he is going to go inside the main base, relatively unprotected at the mineral line, but there are a few stalkers and a couple of sentries here at just at the front of the main nexus there. So iNcontrol is going to be setting up a little bit of protection against any possible stalker pushes that might come along from Dhal, but it looks like Dhal is just content. He's going to sit back and get his expansions rolling now up to 34 probes. So what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the overlay, guys. I did start using this this little bit of a different overlay a few weeks ago. I think it was something like that, and I have sort of asked for some feedback on what you guys would like to see in an overlay. One of the big things was getting rid of the nameplate and putting the names just to the left of where the resource counter is. Going to be doing that. I've asked a good buddy who's an absolute wizard with this kind of thing to give that a shot for me, and we'll be getting that done hopefully pretty soon, and then we'll have a little bit of a different overlay. If you do have any other ideas for what you would like to see, I'm happy to test things out. Like if you want to, if you have something that you might like and you think it'd be good to sort of test it and see if you can see if it would look actually good, or whether it just doesn't work out too well, then please feel free to suggest it. Just drop it in the comments on the video. But we see Dhal just coming through. He's got those oracles targeting down quite a lot of the workers. Very nicely done, in fact. Gets his own worker kill tally back on track here, and that actually puts him in quite a lead compared to where iNcontrol was. So 45 workers to 33 right now, so iNcontrol certainly does need to step it up perhaps and get some harassment of his own going, but unfortunately he's having a little bit of trouble right now. The Phoenix coming through to the natural base, getting a little bit more damage done, and that is a total of 12 workers killed for Dhal. So he's done quite a nice job with those Phoenix. This is one thing about these guys, is that if you are going to tech into Phoenix and control disguise, as Dhal has certainly done with the fact that he's already got these Phoenix out, he's got a second Stargate on the way, is that you need to keep them active. As long as you can keep just jumping into your opponent's bases, taking out some of the probes, it doesn't matter too much if you try and target down some of these units like this. If you can pick up things like sentries especially, and kill off some of those, then you can certainly make it very efficient for yourself. But as we can see, it's sort of it's a little bit of a trade-off. You have to sort of figure out, do I have enough Phoenix to kill off some Stalkers if I lift Stalkers up, or do I have you know, or do I just need to go for some probes? So Dhal coming through. This is a the very tedious part of dealing with someone who goes for a Phoenix play, is that it just gets really hard to try and stop them. And you can invest in getting a couple of cannons in your mineral line. Like quite a lot of the time, you'll see people set up some cannons here and just sort of use those for defense inside the mineral line. But it actually, it's not as efficient as it would seem. Of course, if you're investing 150 minerals in setting up a defense like that, then it can start to eat into your mineral count, which may already start depleting just because of the fact that you're losing quite a lot of probes. So Dhal is doing an excellent job here. 18 workers killed in total. Back at home for him, he's got his own Templar archives on the way, Twilight Council as well. iNcontrol has finished up his own Templar archives. Now, you can do like Templar and try and feed back the Phoenix, but I don't like to rely on that kind of play. As some of you will know, I do play random, but the majority of the time I am actually much better with Protoss. But usually what you would want to try and do in this sort of situation, maybe put down one cannon in a mineral line here, then put together a couple of Archons. Archons actually do quite nicely because they can do really good damage against clumped up units such as these Phoenix. They can't be lifted, so basically the Phoenix can't do a single thing. And then what you want to do is really start to try and put the pressure on your opponent. If you can make them fall back, because you've got to think of these things as mutas. You've got to think of these big groups of Phoenix as mutas, because all they're doing is coming inside, they're harassing your mineral line and keeping your army back. So you need to either start pushing forwards towards your opponent or putting them on the back foot while you sort of get your economy back into shape and all of your production as well. So we can see that quite a lot of upgrades now coming along for both of these guys. We've got Storm and Charge being researched by Dhal. Meanwhile, back at home for iNcontrol, he's got his own Storm. +1 to weapons just finishing up now as well. A couple more gates being thrown up as well. And he'll be putting himself in a position where he can start to move out now. And what we'll probably see, we've got these Templar here. I don't necessarily like Storm in PvP as well. And there you go, some feedbacks. Excellent. That works quite nicely. So he's taken out quite a few of the Phoenix there, and they've lost a lot of their health as well. So next time they try and barge their way into the base, iNcontrol should be able to clean them up quite nicely. The Stalkers, they don't have Blink, which also could be quite helpful in this sort of situation, but no need to panic. It looks like iNcontrol going to have a quick check down the bottom side of the map. There is an expansion here from Dhal. He's going to try and set up a couple of cannons here, but the Zealot going to come inside, spot all of that, and it looks like iNcontrol will step onto the front foot finally and try and make his way across the map. But the supply difference certainly does tell a big story here. We've got Dhal at 162 supply to the 96 of iNcontrol, and with this third base going up a little bit quicker than his opponent, and the tech actually favoring Dhal right now. We've got a lot of these Void Rays. They do that bonus damage to armored units such as the Zealots, the Stalkers, and also the Immortals as well. And then when you get to other Sky Tech options such as Carriers and, you know, I suppose your opponent's Void Rays and things like Tempest as well, Void Rays do a really nice amount of damage. I actually had a very interesting fight with someone, a PvP, with, I sort of went to fast Tempest and he reacted with quite a lot of Void Rays, and it was actually really frustrating at one point because I wasn't sure exactly where to go, but eventually was able to clean it up. You're going to get to that mixture of something along the lines of Void Ray, Tempest, and Templar if you can. Throw down a couple of Storms on clumped up Void Rays, and then you may be able to win those sorts of fights here. But it looks like iNcontrol going to get a few Zealots inside here. This is one thing I've seen quite a lot in iNcontrol's play. He loves just throwing around the Zealots there to harass, and I think it is a really good thing in PvP such as this. If you can clean up a couple of cannons, get rid of some of the probes in the mineral line, then you can certainly keep your opponent sort of on the defensive there, just wondering, where is that attack going to come from? Are those, you know, are there going to be a bunch of Zealots in my base suddenly, or that kind of thing? And it can sort of keep some people just thinking, well, where is that attack going to come from? But iNcontrol, getting together some Archons now. We've still got some Templar here. Keep in mind they do have Storm, so any clumped up units will be torn apart by the Storm. No umbrellas for any of these Protoss units. And Dhal going to set up a nice little wall here just to protect the front door of this expansion. You know, if the rocks do get taken down, then, you know, that does mean that it opens up quite a lot further, but that rarely ever happens. In fact, I can't even remember the last time I've seen someone tear down the rocks just to get into a base like this. Normally, you'll lose a lot of your units before that even happens. It does take a lot of time to bust those down, so that's part of the reason why we never sort of see that kind of thing. So iNcontrol looking to expand down the bottom side, perhaps just by the movement of this probe here. It's going to come back and sort of plant itself in the center here. So I would think that he is going to look to expand to this fourth base here. The Phoenix just trying to scout about. Will they find this probe? I think they will. They'll probably lift it up and get rid of that guy there. So he's not going to have a fun time trying to put down that Nexus. But the Void Ray count for Dhal does continue to grow. He's up to 11 Void Rays now. He's got his own 7 Templar as well. Not 5 Stalkers on the ground and 19 Zealots. These Zealots only have 001 on their upgrades. The air units currently have 001 as well. So all the very similar sort of upgrades here between these two players. For iNcontrol, he's got his own 101 on his ground units, so just a little bit of difference there. His sky units, I don't even think we have a single upgrade for him in the sky region. No, just the 1-1 on those units on the ground, and he's going to come across to the third base here. He's going to look to see if he can get some damage done. I would like to see maybe a DT or two heading across the other side of the map, maybe trying to get into this expansion, a proxy pylon somewhere, just sort of around this region or something like that, to, or not actually that one on the ramp, that doesn't actually work, but you know what I mean, across on the top side of the map where you can whop in some DTs and some Zealots and then try and attack into the other direction. But iNcontrol is a little bit busy down this side. He's having to deal with the Phoenix floating about. He's now going to have a big load of work cut out for him when he has to deal with these Void Rays in the final battle. A Warp Prism now heading across through the top section of the map. Dhal doing what he can to keep his opponent inside his base while he expands to the fourth. I do like this expansion here. The Warp Prism finally does warp in. Will it be able to get any units in? It looks like some DTs going to head their way inside. Would love to see a couple of Zealots, but Dhal is actually supply blocked right now. DT's coming across, straight across to that cannon. It looks like they do take it down now, heading across to the second cannon here. Will they be able to take it down in time? It looks like the answer is no. And Dhal, well, his pressure for the moment, not going to happen, but he is establishing his fourth base. So iNcontrol is going to soon be quite far behind on the income very, very soon, and that's going to have a really big factor on the state of this game. Protoss air armor on the way, level 2 weapons and armor for the ground units also being warped in. A fleet beacon is just about to finish up as well. It's around about halfway done. 3 Stargates prepared for Dhal, so we'll possibly see him go into those Tempests that I mentioned before. We may lose some of these Zealots on the ground, which isn't a huge issue, but what they do is they can protect you from things like the Stalkers and the Archons on the ground. So we'll see as this battle unfolds. A few storms going down. Excellent storm from both players, in fact, on top of almost everything that their opponent has. And it looks like iNcontrol is doing quite well in the fight, but the Void Rays just do so much damage here. Burn down all the Stalkers with gusto, and then they pretty much control the fight from there. iNcontrol going to try and see what damage he can get done with these Zealots, because they're effectively dead at this point. There is no way that these guys are actually going to survive against all of those Void Rays up in the sky. The Phoenix coming along, lifting them up, blasting them down. Zealots from Dhal also being warped in to try and help out with the defense there, and Dhal, the winner in that battle, no doubt about that. iNcontrol losing out quite a lot of his ground units there. It looks like the Warp Prism did actually try and come back across here, but there is that secondary sort of attack from iNcontrol. It's going to come in through the fourth base up towards the top side. 2 cannons here to defend. Dhal going to warp in some Zealots of his own to battle with iNcontrol's, and it looks like Dhal should be okay here. Yeah, no real damage actually done at all. Both players have actually you know, they've sort of stagnated their workers after a certain point. So we've got both of them sitting at around about 65 for iNcontrol, 67 for Dhal, and well, we'll see how this game unfolds, because Dhal is certainly putting himself in a very powerful position right now. He's currently got his +3 to weapons researching. There is another Warp Prism just making its way across the map. A Phoenix for Dhal do scout out the attempted fourth base down the bottom right-hand side for iNcontrol, but will he be able to defend that base? I'm very curious, because iNcontrol down at 136 supply. He's really struggling for gas at this point. We've seen a lot of Templar warp in. The probe's long-distance mining. There is nothing left inside inside the main base. The natural getting a little bit low on these minerals as well, so that's why he's trying to get this fourth. He really needs to get this fourth up and running, because otherwise things are going to go awry. And now, speaking of going awry, some carriers have made their way out. So Dhal is switching into quite a higher tech here. He's going to attack into the fourth base of iNcontrol with some of these zealots. They should be able to get quite a lot of damage done. He may look, well, I suppose iNcontrol turns around. Good job with the defense there from iNcontrol, but while this is all going on, more zealots have made their way inside iNcontrol's natural base here. If they can take out the cannons, maybe get rid of some of these probes, they will be putting themselves in a very strong position right here. 203 upgrades on Dhal's zealots, so they do sweep through all the defenses of Dhal, and now DT's inside the main, tearing apart some of these buildings, cannons going down. Dark Shrine also being targeted down by Dhal, and now as we can see, those DTs just ripping apart everything there with their +3 attack, doing 60 damage with those warp blades. And it looks like Dhal as well, he's lost, iNcontrol has lost his Dark Shrine there. No good at all to lose that kind of thing. But the Warp Prism goes down, the DTs will fall down. Wait, oh, okay, I was going to say, I don't know what that Dark Templar is doing. He thinks he's like a changeling or something like that. But it was actually the one from iNcontrol. So work count has been reduced just a tiny bit, but now, as we can see, iNcontrol is really going to struggle to defend this base. He has to consistently move between the top side of the map and also the bottom side. As we said, this sort of a feature of this map being that it is very aggressive, and you have to be very careful with your positionings and the defense that you have. So iNcontrol loses his fourth base. This puts him in a very, very troublesome position right now, despite the fact that he does have the supply lead right now. Look at the air units of Dhal. He's now on 101 on these air units. A couple more carries are about to make their way out, I think, and pretty much at this point, this is all in the hands of Dhal right now. You could say he is in control. Ha ha ha. But I don't know. It could depend on if we get some good storms from iNcontrol, he may be able to salvage this. But with these Archons on the ground, the Templar may be able to get some damage done here on the Void Rays, I think, at the most. But here we go. The Zealots now running their way, charging into battle. Storms going down on top of the clump Void Rays and actually really ripping them apart. All the Storms taking down their shields, and Dhal loses all of those Void Rays. He's now got nothing left in the sky apart from the carriers, but, you know, they are carriers. They do quite a lot of damage. The Archons on the ground from iNcontrol, soaking up some of the damage, getting rid of all but 2 of these carriers here, and iNcontrol makes his way inside the natural base, but DTs will defend that for the time being. More Zealots now warping in. We can see that Dhal is is sort of struggling to hold this back, but I think perhaps this one carrier may be able to save the day. The DTs and the Zealots on the ground will do the rest of the damage. A Warp Prism has again made its way inside iNcontrol's main base here, but it hasn't actually switched over into pylon mode just yet. But Dhal, with his 4th base up the top, well established for quite a long time, has the economic background to actually just reinforce as quickly as he likes. We've got some more Templar have just warped in. 3 Archons are now being added in for iNcontrol, so he is going to try and add in these big power units here. But you know, the big factor is he doesn't really have any the main sort of late game transition that we sort of mentioned before really does revolve around air. And to be quite honest, I'm very, very impressed with the fact that iNcontrol was able to sort of trade quite efficiently in that last battle. Like we saw one carrier survived, and eventually iNcontrol did get torn down by the carrier and a couple of DTs as well. But I mean, when it comes down to it, it's going to be very hard to salvage a battle against the Protoss, who's got 112 on their air units. He's got 213 on the ground units as well. And iNcontrol, well, he's got 103 on his ground units as well. And realistically, if you're going to win a battle against an opposing Skytoss, you need to have these upgrades done. You need to have the extra armor there to deal with the interceptor shots. You need the shields as well to keep your Archons alive quite a lot longer. And then, you know, that's when you can possibly look at actually, you know, winning a battle with a Protoss player who's gone for Sky. But the fact that Dhal hasn't actually added in any more Sky units, I'm not sure what's going on with that. He looks like he's switching over to Robotech, it looks like. Yeah, Colossus coming out. 2 Colossus at a time, 3 Robos in total. I'm not really sure about that switch. Like, obviously, you know, Colossi still do quite well in this matchup here, but generally you don't see them too often just because of the simple fact that Tempest are available for either of the players. But it looks like with iNcontrol sticking to his ground-based tech, his economy really struggling here. As we can see, his work count is at 61, so it's not exactly floundering at this point, but his income is still reasonably low at this point. So iNcontrol is looking to pick up a 5th base towards the top left-hand side here, trying to keep up with his opponent, who is already on a 5th base and has been mining away from it quite nicely. But the units of Dhal now starting to switch into that Robotech. 3 Colossi at a time, extended thermal lance, +3 to ground armor also on the way. And interestingly, though he's not actually building any more air units, he just finished up +2 to the air armor. So Dhal, you know, I don't know, a little bit of identity crisis. Is this Heart of the Swarm or is this Wings of Liberty? I'm not sure, but I think the switch is solid. It's a good way to try and deal with someone who has gone for a lot of Stalkers here. We can see that with, you know, they do have Blink, so the Stalkers may be able to sort of blink around, try and avoid some of the Colossi if possible, but the big factor is that the Storms aren't going to do as much against something like a Colossus, so we'll find out what Dhal is going to do here. It looks like he finally pushes through with some more harassment on iNcontrol, warps in a couple of Zealots here, still only 103 here on iNcontrol's units, unfortunately just not able to add in that extra research upgrade to getting some armor and some shields on these Zealots here, but he does fend part of this attack off, but the main battle is going to occur here on the top of the hill. iNcontrol coming down with some of these Stalkers, blinking them inside the range of the Colossus, and that is going to be it. Taps out with the GG. iNcontrol falls down to Dhal here in this very interesting PvP ladder game where iNcontrol did his best to try and get off to a great start with some DTs, but unfortunately Dhal was just well prepared for it, then got his own harassment going with some Phoenix, and then transitioned into the Sky Toss, and then later back into Colossus. So a really interesting game, a couple of interesting switches between these two players. Hope you all enjoyed the match. I'll catch you all next time. Blast down those Hydras, bodies being blown apart everywhere there. And Awake is just left with a few Swarm hosts in the ground. We've got 6 over here, not a massive total. And now we can see with the scan going down, I don't think that